Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hatton Humphrey,
This is Ken Johnston.
and this is the Front Porch Political Talk Show. You're seeing this on Sunday, the 13th of February. We're doing a pre-recorded, so any comments will be read later. We want to thank everybody for joining us on this fun and warming day. It's a bit warmer here in Western New York. Ken, did you guys survive the snow?
Oh yeah, we survived.
We've got from about 2 feet now. All the piles are getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because when we pulled into one of the shopping plazas, there was they had the front loaders and the dump trucks going. So literally, there was so much snow that they brought in front loaders to pick up all the snow piles and dump it in the dump it in the dump truck to then go off somewhere and dump the snow somewhere. So I have no idea how many shopping carts they took with them, but
at least 2 or 3, I'm sure.
That's kind of the cost of doing business. So there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about on this, and they have to do with state responses to COVID and specifically to masking. And I'm going to start. I always forget to hit the share button on this thing. We're going to start with the state of New Jersey, and it's very interesting the way that the mayor or the governor of the state of New Jersey has decided to position things for changing their state mandates. So effective March 7th. They are lifting the state mandate across the board. And it's not so much the fact that they've and part of that is they're watching the numbers, giving a little bit of time to congeal, but there's also apparently a vaccine for kids because this impacts schools as well. And there's an important reason why schools come into play here. The thing that he has said is that the state will no longer have a mask mandate. Individual municipalities may still implement their own mandates if they feel it's necessary. Schools may, and that goes down, that's county, city, state, school district can do their mandates however they want to do it if they feel they need it. The important thing that he said, and I don't have necessarily, let me see if I can find the, said Murphy said school districts and child care facilities continue to implement universal masking policies after the mandate is listed. Schools will not be permitted to bar the use of facial coverings by individuals and will be expected to take disciplinary action in instances of bullying should they arise into an individual's choice to continue wearing a mask.
Absolutely.
I love that language. It's one of the core tenets of my political philosophy, of my interpretation of the conservative political philosophy, which I hold, is personal responsibility.
Yes.
And I'm really, this is a huge move for effectively a blue state to say, okay, we're not gonna make people wear masks. If a smaller organizational unit of the government decides they want to, that is their call. And if you as an individual feel that it is important for you to continue wearing a mask, you have that right.
Yeah.
Which is a much better language stance than you have that responsibility or you have that requirement.
Right. And you and I have mentioned this before, but one of the biggest takeaways from this is wash your hands and don't go to work sick.
Exactly.
Okay,
wash your hands. Don't go to work sick. Don't go to work sick. Don't go to school sick. Yeah, and it is crazy how that remember, I work for an HR company.
Right.
I hear, and in some cases see all the time, people that are like, oh no, it's more important that I'm here. My presence here is more important than the health of the people around me.
Yeah.
And if COVID has taught the world anything, it is that sometimes you have to say, well, no, my presence is not more important than that. Your presence. What's that?
Check your emails from the house. You don't need to be in the office.
Exactly. If we need to work from home, if we need to do, any number of things like that, the technology in most offices will support that. Now, for people that work in industries that can't work from home, I mean, you work in an industry where there is no such thing as work from home. Then that does become a scenario where your workplace needs to have something in place to make it so that you aren't disincentivized to take care of yourself.
Right.
And there are companies that are feeling that pinch. I mean, there are companies that are like, well, we used to not have a sick policy, but now we have to make sure that we keep our employees.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to is maintaining a work staff at some point.
Right. Here's the other thing, which people need to be okay with. There is a bit of gray area in there. If you're coughing and sneezing, but you're not necessarily sick,
it's an allergy, it might be an allergy.
Might be a simple cold.
Yeah, but even if it's simple cold, that's still, you're sick. Stay home. And part of it is, I'm not going to pull up the video right now, but I would encourage folks to, what would the right search phrase be? Mythbusters, sick. Mythbusters sickness spread. So the Mythbusters did a really amazing test of how viruses or illnesses spread so quickly. And basically what they did was they took a dye that was not or that was only visible under black light.
Okay.
And hosted a faux dinner party. And that dye was on one of the hosts. And so in scenario one, he just acted like a normal human being, touched his face, did this, shook hands, did all that. And every single person at the table had a good level of that dye on them by the end of the thing. Staying away, say, I don't feel good, I'm going to elbow bump, or, I'm not going to shake your hands. I'm not going to serve your food. You go ahead and serve your own food and stuff like that. And it didn't take it away, but it was much less. So even, no matter, my point is if you're sick, stay home. If you feel that wearing the mask is going to keep you safe or keep others safe, and you feel that's your responsibility, keep wearing it. That is a personal responsibility thing. That's a personal decision thing.
Right.
And by all means, please, I don't know if you've seen this, Ken. I've seen it a couple of times, and every time it makes me feel just absolutely horrible, because you have these people that walk into businesses and the business has made the business decision to require masks. And you have people coming in, it's not right, it's bad. Dude, shut up and wear a freaking mask or go shop somewhere else.
Exactly.
The poor schlub pouring your coffee at Starbucks is not the person that made the corporate decision to require a mask.
Right.
Arguing with that person about your rights or their responsibilities or whatever is like screaming at a brick wall and expecting a response.
Yes, I agree.
I've seen it. I was standing. I'm like, and this was in New York State where there's still mask mandates. I'm standing there. We're in a Columbia outlet store, and this couple walks in, and the manager asks, if you could please put on your mask, and the husband just went off on her. Bear in mind that it's supposed to be masked indoors the whole way, and they actually had security guards at the front of at the doors checking. Yeah, a little over the top, but that's what they had to do, because the businesses can be fined if they're found with people without masks on. And so they she kicked him out of the store.
Good.
She's like, I'm not here to argue with you. This is the policy that the state has. You can either put your mask on or you can leave. And they left.
Yeah. I've had a couple instances. Mine go the other way though. And where I work, you've got a manufacturing plant and somebody sees me come around the corner, they put their mask on. Dude, there's 30 feet between us. Don't put it on for me. I mean,
right.
Don't.
But it's also not your job to enforce the mask policy.
No, it's not.
Exactly. Exactly. But you're providing physical security. That's
right.
They think you do. The better thing. So we were at a Michael's, and part of it is not just, okay, don't get in somebody's face when you don't think you need to wear a mask, but don't be, for lack of a better phrase, a mask Nazi.
Right.
Which, okay, I get that too. We were in a Michael's, okay? Sarah's doing, paintings, and so she had to go get, we actually were getting some stuff from Michael's, and she had forgotten her mask, because in Niagara County, it's not required. In Erie County, it is. It's one of those weird things. Right. So we walk in, and I had mine, and I just kind of put mine on by nature because I work in Erie County. And so we go in, and there was a gentleman walking around, and he goes, "Do you need a mask, ma'am?" And just the way that he presented it was so much less in your face, so much nicer. Like, oh, you probably forgot the mask. I get it here. That kind of way of presenting it. And she's like, "Absolutely, thank you." She put it on.
Right.
So this will continue to be a topic of conversation as numbers change.
Right.
Because, some of the experts are still saying that there's another variant or 3 out there.
Yeah. And there's some experts saying that if we go back to normal too quickly, people are going to have panic attacks and anxiety is going to kick in.
That has happened for some people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've said it before on this show that COVID was a worldwide physical health pandemic and mental health pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't not have that when you have government officials telling 4-year-olds, if you hug grandma, you're going to kill her.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is how New Jersey handled the mask thing. And there are some question marks and some conversation points about the timing of this. There's definitely, there's definitely some thought process to, is this, are these changes being driven by science or by poll numbers?
Yeah.
And we can't dismiss that.
Oh.
We absolutely cannot dismiss that. What's interesting though is how New York handled it. And New York has, schools have really, superintendents, parent groups, PTSA, child advocacy groups have been have been begging for mask mandates to be lifted for schools. And there was actually, our superintendent was one of like 150 superintendents across the state that signed a letter to Governor Hochul saying, please, when you revisit the mask policy, please include schools, or at least clear messaging on schools, because we don't know what's going on. You know, a lot of the challenges have been that the policy questions are a little bit nebulous when it comes to how schools do it. And also, oh, by the way, it'd be really nice if you'd lift the mask mandate for schools. So Hochul came out and said, effective immediately or effective tomorrow, masks are no longer required indoors across New York State. Again, similar language to what the New Jersey governor said. If communities want to have policies, they can, but statewide mandates are lifted, except for in schools. Schools still have to have masks on kids. And we'll revisit this after the Easter break. And the first thing that came to my thought is so little Johnny can go to when little Johnny goes to school, little Johnny has to wear a mask in school inside the building. But little Johnny can go to a birthday party at Laser Zone for one of his friends with 30 of his closest friends, playing games in the arcade, doing laser tag, doing bumper cars, whatever, and no mask is required.
Right.
Screaming, yelling, singing, doing whatever.
Makes total sense.
Total sense.
Yeah, you could make the argument that kids are in school for 7-8 hours a day together, not for 2 hours inside of a laser tag zone. But yeah, it doesn't. No,
I'm sorry. It makes no sense. You've got kids, kids, especially, elementary school kids are in the same room for an extended period of time, but they're also sitting on a school bus. They're also sitting, face to face, at a birthday party.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, this one really, really, they had to get, she's basically, the Democrat governors are realizing that they have to give.
Yeah.
That this has to end. And the problem is that we have folks like Dr. Anthony Fauci,
right,
who are still.
I'm gonna make a comment in regards to Dr. Fauci. He has a similar ailment as David Lee Roth. They both suffer from LSD. Lead singer disease. He got his time in front of the mic and under the spotlight, and he likes it.
And he doesn't want to give it up.
He don't want to give it up. Because let's face it, there's a point in time where he was practically running the country.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because the numbers have just sharply dropped off, but even Fauci has said that the numbers are wrong.
So now who do we believe? Oh, jeez. Well, can you find that? Because I want to read that, because we should talk about that next.
Yeah,
Don't sweat it too hard, but
I
can't. The numbers are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he's been quoted before. He's been going back and forth. The science has changed so fast. That's why individuals screaming out, "Follow the science!" Yeah, well, give me science to follow.
Yeah.
But either way, it is still it's so strange, and there's a lot going on. Sarah and I still will not in an airplane to go anywhere, but that's our personal choice,
right?
We're going to go see Jeff Dunham in a couple of weeks. which means we're going to an arena to see Jeff Dunham and the Dummies. And I'm really looking forward to it, but it's, we got tickets. The tickets that I got were specifically seated, I think I think we're either at the front of a seating section or at the very back of a seating section. So we're not, crammed right in the middle, and we're on corner seats.
Right.
And that's a mental thing for me. I don't want to be stuck in the middle of a crowd right now.
I don't like to be stuck.
I don't like being stuck in crowds anyway.
Me either. It's the Navy did that to me. Rebecca once asked me, how come I don't want to go to the air show? When we lived in Florida, how come you don't want to go to MacDill and go to the air show? I don't want to wait in line. I used to walk out of my barracks, stand on the balcony in Whidbey Island and watch the air show.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I want to wait 2 hours in line?
Exactly. Well, it's like we have one up here with the Niagara Falls Air Reserve Base. They bring in an air show. Actually, I think last year they did it down at the canal. And A, there's too many people. B, I get sunburned every freaking time I go to an air show. And C, it's not like I haven't seen these things before.
Right. Yeah. But Rebecca was like, but the boys haven't seen it. And that's a good point. So
yeah. We did something really cool. And if you get back down to Florida, got to go to Pensacola for it. And I think they've opened it back up. The
museum in Pensacola.
Yeah, museum.
I've been there.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you're there on, I think, a Wednesday, I think sometime during the week, that's also the Blue Angels practice field.
Yeah. One of Rebecca's good friends from high school, who's married to one of her really good friends from high school, used to be one of the curators down there.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
I went down there about 10 or 12 years ago with Billy Nolan.
Yeah.
He took me over there. So.
Yeah. So it's, that's an air show on the ground and you don't get sunburned.
And yeah.
Well, so the last piece of personal responsibility we're going to talk about is actually crack pipes. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So it's funny when Snopes takes an article and says that it's mostly false, which means that there is some truth to it.
Right.
There is a $30 million harm reduction program grant. This is part of the American Rescue Plan. And one of the things that they've done with Health and Human Services is they have created a safe smoking kit. And it's along the same lines as safe syringes for heroin addicts.
Right.
Yeah, the specifically outlines syringes and safe smoking kits / supplies as an approved use of federal funds. So the idea you're not sharing a crack pipe with somebody else.
Yeah.
Because, and here's a quote, okay? Smoking crack can to open sores, burns, or cuts on the lips, which can transfer blood to a crack pipe. If the pipe is shared, even a speck of infected blood can transmit hepatitis C.
Any bloodborne pathogen.
Yeah. People who smoke crack, like everyone else, like to have sex. When you smoke crack, it often decreases your inhibitions and decreases condom negotiation skills, which can lead to exposure to HIV, STIs, and hepatitis. So they're giving them crack pipes and condoms? Or are they just giving them clean crack pipes?
Clean crack pipes. Yeah.
I know we talked about marijuana and
that's a whole different conversation.
And cannabis. It is a whole different conversation, but there's groups that are saying, oh, you know what? everything should be legal.
Yeah, no.
Or in this case, they're not making it. They're not saying that it should be illegal. But if you're going to do it, you should get a clean crack pipe, and we'll give you a clean crack pipe. What?
Why? I have a thought. maybe we should like over.
Oh, it does include condoms.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Nice.
The grant also allows federal funds to be used to purchase, quote, safe sex kits, including PREP resources. I don't know what that stands for. And condoms. And the last phrase here is the plan was mocked online.
Yeah.
You think? So,
oh, there she is.
Go ahead.
Big girl. If we give out free crack pipes, maybe we should overfund the plan and have you come in for your free crack pipe and we give it to you, and then you go into a rehab facility, not by your choice.
Ooh. So in other words,
a crack camp. We'll put it right next door to the non-vaccinated people. We'll have a crack concentration camp.
No.
Forced rehabilitation. How do we put it? Not forced rehabilitation. It will be unelected rehabilitation.
Unelected rehab. I dare say, Ken, that kind of flies in the face of the concept of personal responsibility.
Oh, yeah, it does.
You know, I don't know that we could ever really do that. And I know you're saying that in jest.
I am.
Because
although we overfund it and we make sure that there's a rehab counselor on site that you at least have to say goodbye to when you walk out the door.
Yeah, I mean, funding manpower, funding a social worker type position whose role is to what's the best phrase?
Options while you're there.
Encourage seeking help and assistance and providing resources for it.
Let's face it, you get a lot of people that go down that path, they get lost, they don't know where to look for help.
That's not a bad idea. Let's
so
if we're gonna put money into hardware, let's put it into soft skills that can help people in that situation. I could see something like that being a valid solution. So
better than the concentration camp idea.
It's much better than your concentration camp idea. Ken. I can't take you anywhere, can I?
No.
All right. Well, I think it's now our responsibility to say that we're up against our time limit for this episode. Any last things before we log off?
Better not.
Shh. So with that, we'll say thank you for joining us today. If you like what we said, we ask you, if you're on Facebook, like the page, comment on the, add comments in. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, add your comments to the conversation below. If you didn't like us, YouTube has this wonderful thing. You can hit the dislike button. We'll ask you to do it twice just to say we really suck. But otherwise, you know what? We'll invite you to join us for our next episode, which will be a music one on Thursday. And that will definitely be different words in a different order. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.
Have a good one, everybody.